now, right now. Right 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 now, right now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekday morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, Bitcoin is rallying. As you can see, Bitcoin is currently trading just shy of $90,000 after Bitcoin came back down and back-tested this uptrending level of support, building what looked like a head and shoulders pattern. We did not break bearish. Instead, Bitcoin instituted a massive short squeeze, which gives us significantly more confidence that the bottom at $80,000 last Thursday and Friday is likely to hold for a longer time. Today, we're going to be talking about what this means for Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin actually going into a new uptrend? Is Bitcoin going to fall over? And this is an excellent time to short because this is a dead cat bounce. We're going to analyze and discuss all of that and more in today's episode. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more content. We have content coming out to you 5 days a week here. Very excited to be here today. Really just over the moon. Very excited that all of you guys are here getting to share this this minute in the market with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Let's read some chat, and then we're going to get started. Sam Mangione is in chat, said good morning. Queen Finsov is in chat. Public Tour is in chat. Vitruvio for Life is in chat. Bardazan is in chat. Rob is in chat. Miguel Rangel is in chat. Jay Kurlander is in chat. Monkey is in chat. Not going to read your full name. Lemon Red W is in chat. Time Lapse. Antoniota is in chat. Time Lapse King, Christopher Ryans, Raymond, and many more. Really appreciate all of you guys for being here. On your way in, if you're looking forward to the stream, drop a like. That lets the algorithm know that you are liking today's content and that Bitcoin, that YouTube should push it out to more people. All right, let's get started. Bitcoin over the last few days has been experiencing a major bounce, and the rest of the altcoins have been doing the same. Bitcoin has managed to lead the charge back up above $3 trillion. Over the last 24 hours, we have reclaimed $3 trillion market cap, and that reclamation, we're just making up words right now, that reclaiming of $3 trillion is a really big deal, because it is kind of the line in the sand that Bitcoin was stuck under. We were concerned about Bitcoin doing an underside test of 3 trillion, having that lead us further to the downside. But instead of doing that, Bitcoin did not actually do a confirmed underside test. We did the same thing when we dropped back down to 3.5 trillion. We did an underside test right there at approximately $100,000 per Bitcoin. And we were looking at Bitcoin possibly doing the same thing here on the total market cap chart, but instead total market cap did not do that, and we've now broken above 3 trillion. So the movement over the last hour is a movement that is one that should not be faded so quickly, because this is a movement above critical levels of resistance. And so we just want to be very careful not to jump the gun and say that this is going to fall over that quickly, because this is a breakout above a very critical level on Bitcoin and also on the total market cap chart. It was, of course, this level that we fell down to right here. We did the underside test. That dropped us back down to 80. We've been hitting our head on it, getting constricted here. Bollinger Bands, as you can imagine, were very, very tight here on the 1 hour chart. And Bitcoin did not break bearish. Instead, it actually broke bullish. And so this is if we are seeing Bitcoin going into a major rally, this is where it's starting. If you'll recall, right back over here, when Bitcoin rejected off of 94, I said if we're going into a bear market, this is where it's going to start. Bitcoin dropped $14,000 within 5 days of me saying that. Right now, I'm telling you that if Bitcoin is going to rally back up to 94 or 100, this was the exact moment in time that was confirmed, and that we, got technical confirmation that was going to happen. So let's zoom out and let's zoom out and then zoom back in as we do our analysis today. The most important thing that we need to understand on Bitcoin is that the overall market trend for the last 2 months, ever since the 10-10 crash, has been one that looks a lot like the beginning of a bear market. Bitcoin has dropped 35%. The question on the table is whether or not this is actually a bear market that is forming. I have told you that so long as $94,000 is resistance, as so long as we are below $94,000, I am in bear market mode. I am looking for low entries. And so that's why we acquired a lot of Bitcoin right back over here, sub $85,000. Excuse me. We acquired quite a bit of Bitcoin back over here at sub 85,000 because Bitcoin was ridiculously overextended to the downside. It simply couldn't stay that low for long. And so as Bitcoin is starting to rally here, it's not really surprising that Bitcoin is getting a bounce. $80,000 was an extremely low. If Bitcoin does start moving back up towards 94 or even towards 100, then that basically gives us the worst case scenario prediction for what this coming bear market would look like if Bitcoin does actually go into a bear market, because it's really not a surefire thing that Bitcoin is just going to crash until October of next year. Bitcoin is a substantially different asset class today than it used to be. And the reason I say that it would give us a lot of information is because theoretically, if we did bounce back up to the 50 moving average, then we would be following the exact same bear market structure that we saw in the last bear market, where Bitcoin dropped below the 50, rallied up to, tested the 50, and rejected off of it, and then we were actually able to get a price target for what the bear market bottom was going to be, because the size of the initial leg of the crash was 2 to 1 the size of the second leg of the crash. This was a $38,000 movement, and then down from here to here. And then from here to here, this is like an $18,000 movement. It's just about a 2 to 1 ratio, right? So it's about a $36,000 movement, really. So you got about a $36,000 movement. This is an $18,000 movement. That's about a 2 to 1 ratio. And so you were able to take 50% lower off of this, $18,000 versus $36,000, and find that the bear market bottom was going to be $15,000. And so if we do get a bounce back up here to the 50, then that would mean that Bitcoin is following through the exact same format as the last bear market, as you can see over here. And that would mean that $80,000 was the bottom of the first leg of the bear market. That is if we come up to the 50 and reject off of it. At this point in time, we probably will come up to the 50. And if we reject off of it, then that does mean that we're going into a standard 4-year halving cycle bear market. And that 4-year halving cycle bear market bottom would be predicted based off of based off of a lot of different things. There's 5 or 10 different areas that we would predict the bear market bottom. But what I found is that this model I'm about to show you actually does a pretty good job of giving us a good range of where Bitcoin's bottom would be. So if Bitcoin's bottom happened in 42 days, it was 36% to the downside. The first thing I want to point out is that that's a lot smaller than the last bear market. A lot smaller. To get to the initial bottom, it took 77 days. We dropped 52%. So the first leg of the bear market, if we did go into a full-blown bear market, is substantially smaller and faster than the first leg of the last bear market, which fits with what we said about the 4-year halving cycle bear market breaking. It's going to break in one of two ways. It's either going to break in the sense that it's not going to predict the timing of the bear market, or two, it's going to break in the sense it's not going to predict the depth of the bear market. The 4-year halving cycle bear market is shifting and changing dramatically. And so if that was the bottom of the first leg, which it probably was, to be honest, it probably is going to be that we're going to rally up to the 50 weekly moving average at this point, then we can simply say this is a $46,000 movement. Let's just take $23,000 and see where that points us. It points us right here towards $56,000. This is if we reject off of the 50. If we break through the 50, the 4-year halving cycle is completely broken, and you're going to have an extremely bullish 2026, most likely, because of those macroeconomic tailwinds that we've been talking about. Interest rates are coming down. Jerome Powell is getting replaced. Quantitative tightening is ending. Quantitative easing may be beginning. We have a lot of QE going on in the nation of Japan. And overall, just a lot of very bullish things that we expect are going to happen in 2026, unless something like the AI tech bubble bursts or something to that effect. That would make 2026 very bad. But at the same time, it would turn the money printer on. I mean, the Fed would not allow the entire stock market to just crash 30 or 40% because Nvidia blew up. They would end up bailing them out. And so you would end up seeing the money printer go burr, which would in the short term be negative for Bitcoin for a few months, but eventually it end up being extremely bullish for Bitcoin as the long tail effects of quantitative easing lead to more liquidity in the global economy, much of which would be invested directly into the Bitcoin market after, again, about 3 to 6 months of the quantitative easing flowing through the pipes of the global economy. And so right now what we're looking at is Bitcoin is most likely going to rally back up to the 50. If it rejects off of the 50, the bear market bottom I'm anticipating is above $50,000, probably somewhere between $50,000 and $60,000, probably sooner than next October. As you can see, this is a smaller first leg of the bear market. It's a smaller first leg of the bear market. In the same way that the last bear market, the first wave of the last bear market was smaller than its previous, right? In the first leg of the bear market before that, it took 56 days. Bitcoin dropped 70%. This first leg was 70% in the 2018 bear market. This leg was 52% in the last bear market. And then this first leg is 36%. It's, you know, it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful sight to behold. This one over here is minus 17% smaller. 52 plus 17 is 69, right? 17% smaller on that first leg. And then you come over here, you end up getting 4, 6, minus 16%. It's gorgeous. It's diminishing returns. It's those diminishing returns, right? This first leg correction was 17% smaller than the 2018 first leg. This first leg, if we bottomed at 80, was 16% smaller than this leg. And so if we are having almost linear diminishing returns on the exponential, which is kind of weird, but you're adjusting the exponential movement of the market in a linear way, right? Then that gives us confidence that the bear market bottom in total is going to be significantly smaller. So if the bear market bottom here was 83% deep, and this bear market bottom was 76% deep, 77 actually, 77% deep. This is 6, let's call it 7 because it's about 84 over here, 7% smaller. Let's say that this is 14 because we double it, right? We double it. Let's say this is 14% smaller over here. Then you're looking at 77 minus 10 is 67 minus 4 is 63. So you're looking at a bear market bottom that might be 63% deep. Does that kind of line up? Lines up. 63% deep, you're looking at 45,000. So generally speaking, you're looking, if we do go into a full-blown bear market, you're looking at like $45,000 to $60,000, probably above 50. I doubt we'd go below 50 just because of all of the literal manipulation that would take place down there to hold the market up, probably from probably from national governments, but also from just major players in the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. I have it on good word that a lot of different players in the game would not allow Bitcoin to go below 50 because they would sit there with a wall of buy orders and they would do anything that they possibly could to keep the market above 50,000 to protect their very own long positions. If we were to drop below 50, it would most likely be because one of the A-list major cryptocurrency exchanges went belly up and they had to dump 30, 40, 50, 60, $100 billion worth of Bitcoin on the open market. That's the only way that I could see Bitcoin going below $50,000 for this cycle. But what we're looking at in the short term, now that we've looked at the long term, what we're looking at in the short term, I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of this analysis. If you want to take a look at it, go ahead. Delete all of this. What we're looking at in the short term is that $80,000 was a bottom, and that bottom is most likely going to lead Bitcoin to the 50. This is no longer, now that we've broken above this level, now that we've broken above this $3 trillion market cap, this is no longer a time in the short term to be looking for short trades. This is a time to be looking for long trades. And so that's because we are now entering into this cycle, this part of the cycle where we're almost certainly going to be running back to the 50. It's extremely likely that we're going to run back to the 50 moving average. And the 50 moving average is dangerous to extrapolate, of course. But by the time we get there, it's probably going to be between 94 to 100K. So what I anticipate is going to happen here, and I'm very confident that this is what we're going to see happen, Bitcoin is most likely going to run it back to 100, and it's going to meet the resistance at 100,000. It's probably going to happen sometime around Christmas, maybe sooner. Bitcoin's giving us a pump the day before Turkey Day so that at least you can go in there and say, hey, in the last 7 days, Bitcoin is up. You know, you don't have to be too embarrassed. Like, no, I bought the dip and Bitcoin's going back up. You know, you don't have to be too scared about it, about Turkey Day tomorrow with your weird uncle who just loves gold bullion, you know, grilling you, right? But what we're probably going to see happen over the next few weeks is you're going to see Bitcoin's 50 come down something like this. We're probably going to rally back up towards 100, and then that, my friends, that's the moment of truth. If Bitcoin rallies back up towards 100 and we reject off of it, then you're looking at a bear market down towards $50,000, $50,000 to $55,000, which will be generational buying opportunities. I cannot stress this enough. If you see Bitcoin going down towards 50, oh my goodness, you can get 5 Bitcoin for $250,000. You can get 20 Bitcoin for $1 million Wow, that's incredible. If you do not take advantage of that, it's on you because you've got like 8 months of warning that it's coming if we reject off of the 50. If we reject off of the 50 moving average, you're going back down to $50,000 to $60,000, maybe a little bit higher, but you're going down towards that direction. This is exactly what we have seen. Apologies. This is exactly what we have seen over and over again. Whenever the market rallies up towards the 50, it ends up and rejects off of it in the beginning of the bear market. That's when you know that Bitcoin is going to further capitulate down towards those next levels. Of course, Bitcoin bounced off of it, did an overside underside test, and then that's what really led Bitcoin back down here to the, what level is that? Down to the 200 weekly moving average here. And then in the last bear market, we dropped it back down to the 300 right here, right? So you would likely see Bitcoin dropping back down towards these levels somewhere. And if you give them another, few months to run forward, then you're probably looking at, let's make them a little bit shallower here, just because we are dealing with the market being lower. You're probably dealing with Bitcoin's support architecture being found at $55,000 to $60,000. So once again, if we do reject off of that 50, then we're probably going lower. But in the short term, we are probably moving up towards the 50. So let's talk about what the short-term analysis looks like here. Bitcoin is breaking through all of its major levels of resistance on the 1 hourly. As you can see here, Bitcoin was stuck beneath the 200 hourly moving average. Right now, Bitcoin is moving up to the 300 hourly moving average. I hope you got some entries down at $80,000 because there is a slight possibility you never see it again. If we break above 100 and rally up towards 150, $80,000 might be in the rearview mirror permanently. Again, if we reject off of that 50 based on macroeconomic conditions when we get towards that level, then that is where we may very well end up seeing Bitcoin reject off of it and move back to the downside. The good thing for the bulls that I am noticing is that we are seeing the 50 cross above the 200. This is a golden cross here on the hourly chart. This does likely mean that Bitcoin is going to move further to the upside in the near term, and it also means that the alignment of moving averages are starting to adjust themselves in a way that is bullish. Now, I also want to take a quick look at Lux Algo because what you're going to see here is pretty cool. On the hourly chart, we do have a buy signal coming in from Lux Algo. If you guys haven't signed up for Lux Algo, you should. luxalgo.com/Jeb, etc. If we see this buy signal flashing, that's a really good sign. So we've got trend catcher, we've got buy signal coming in. It's a really good sign. We're very happy to see that Bitcoin is moving in the right direction. Now, let's also do some analysis based off of our Fibonacci's. You guys know I love Fibonacci's. And our overall movement started at 107, dropped us down to 80. And what you'll see here is that this is a Fibonacci that makes a lot of sense. It matches a lot of different levels. And you really do want to make sure that you're doing a little bit of price fitting here to make sure that you're picking the right movement to pull a fib off of, because other people are doing the exact same thing. You can see here that the 0.5 gives us that perfect support level at 94,000. Bitcoin whipsawed below 94,000. And that was the movement. It was centered around 94K. And so this Fibonacci right here makes a lot of sense. This is obviously a contained trend. So we're likely going to see resistance here at $91,000 at 0.38. And we're also likely going to see Bitcoin move up here to the 0.618 here at 97,000. Although we probably will get some resistance at 94 to start with, because 94,000 is going to be an important level to break. This is going to be a difficult market to pull longs off in because it is in a primary downtrend. As I said, we are now in basically bear market territory. Most people are considering us to be in a bear market right now. So pulling longs in a bear market is difficult, but it can be done. And the way you would do it is you would have to wait for certain levels to break. But I'm not seeing any real clean ones on the chart. I am seeing this uptrending level of resistance. If that broke, it could be useful. But generally speaking, what you want to look for is you want to look for Bitcoin falling back down to support and doing overside underside tests. Something like breaking up here, falling back, and then bouncing. An entry like right here would make sense. I don't see a very solid, really great entry on Bitcoin right now. You could theoretically call this a 3.5A, A, B, C, but I'm not really the biggest fan of this setup being a Elliott wave formation. It just doesn't really look like it. It's not a very solid Elliott wave structuring, and so I'm not too ecstatic to go there and kind of do all that. Now, what I will say is that for Bitcoin to get back up to the 50, because remember the 50 moving average is kind of doing this number out on that weekly chart, right? 50 moving average is kind of doing something like that. In fact, we'll just, so that we can have it on the shorter term time frame here, we'll just kind of trace it, right? This is what the 50 is doing. This is the 50. Let's just draw that here so that we can see it on the shorter term time frames. This is basically where the 50 is up there on that drawn line. So what you would need to see Bitcoin do is you would need to see Bitcoin rally above the 0.618 to get to the 50, which means that by the time we get to the 50, we're going to be at the 0.786, which means that Bitcoin's already going to be very overextended to the upside. When we get to the 50, it's going to be exhausted. And so the issue that we're looking at here is that if Bitcoin does manage to make it to the 50, it's probably going to be exhausted. And the only way that I see the 50 breaking is if you see a massive a massive short liquidation. That could happen. Like, right, we could see this massive short liquidation that just sends us straight through the 50 because people have over leveraged themselves. If we look over here on CoinGlass, you're going to see that there is a large amount of exposed short trades up there. That's what happened a minute ago. That's why Bitcoin rallied so quickly above 90, is you saw a big short liquidation. If we come over here to the liquidation data, just the overall liquidation data, you're going to see that Bitcoin saw right here a major short liquidation of $81 million. That's what sent Bitcoin up here a couple of $1,000s. And so when we see Bitcoin moving up towards 100, the main way that I could see Bitcoin breaking through the 50 moving average, which is that's the ceiling right now, we've got to do something about that, is a major short liquidation. The issue is, at least according to CoinGlass here on Binance, most of the short liquidations are above the 50. They're not naked shorts. They're protected up here above the 50. The vast majority of this short liquidity is sitting up here above the 50. Most people, as you can see here, do not have their liquidation prices, their liquidation levels below the 50 moving average. Remember, the 50 moving average is like right here at like 102. There's not a lot of short liquidity to trigger a blow off top. If we rally up here and hit 107, 108, that's when things get really interesting, and you'll probably see a short squeeze send us right back to all-time high. That would lead us into an extremely bullish 2026 because you would have annihilated the 50. You break the 4-year halving cycle because the 4-year halving cycle says that you break below the 50, backtest the 50, reject off of the 50, and crash. If you see a massive short liquidity, a massive short crunch up above the 50, then you probably see Bitcoin rally up towards 115, 120, up towards major levels of resistance up there. We can look at different markets also. Let's look at Hyperliquid and see where all the short liquidity is, but I believe most of it is probably going to be sitting up there above 107, this high. And that's what I'm talking about. You see, this is the structure that we were talking about over here. It's the same structure, right? So what we're finding is most of the short liquidity is up here, but the 50 moving average is right down here. And so that's kind of the issue, is that Bitcoin is going to have a difficult time getting up above the 50 because the thing that would give it the speed, the velocity to get up there are all these shorts. And most people have their short liquidations right here above 107 at about 107.5. This is on Hyperliquid. They have a huge amount of volume. Let's look at Bybit. Binance and Hyperliquid, most of it's above 107. Here on Bybit, also, you can see the vast majority of that liquidation is up there above 107. So really, Bitcoin needs to get above $107,000 to start that domino effect of short squeezing. So if we get above 107, that's where you will likely see Bitcoin hit this 1.618 at 124, and we'll probably go back to all-time high and well beyond. The issue is getting there, right? The issue is that we got to get there. So if Bitcoin can rally up to 107, maybe fall back down and back test the 50, then you could create this big old inverse head and shoulders pattern, and the Fibonacci extension would point us at 125. So there is a path to all-time high, but it's going to take a lot of buying pressure that I'm just not sure is there because the entire space is basically capitulated into believing that we're in a bear market. And that's not something that I'm too thrilled to do, but it's also something that I don't have a choice to do. I have to listen to the analysis. I can't tell the market what to do. I have to listen to what the market's telling me. And the market is telling me that we are now in a bear market until otherwise proven. And so if Bitcoin manages to rally up to the 50, break it, backtest it, bounce, then that's where those shorts will get closed at stop loss, or they will just plain and simply get liquidated, and that will give us the forced buying pressure that we need to move higher. But if that doesn't happen, then you're going into a bear market. So what's the path forward here? The path forward here is that Bitcoin really needs to impress us. Like, it's got a lot of ground to make up. Bitcoin really has broken bullish trust dramatically. And so for Bitcoin to get back up here, we've got to see something monumental. We've got to see a very serious move to the upside. And that's going to take some time. So should you be longing right now? Not necessarily. The place to pull out a long was down here at 80 to 84. You kind of missed the boat on that. Could you? You could. But the risk to reward is not as great because the magnetism of the 50 is probably going to draw us there. Right? The magnetism of the 50 moving average is probably going to draw us towards the 50 moving average up here around 100. You could pull a stop loss like right here, but honestly, it's difficult to pull a really solid risk to reward ratio there. What I will say is that $90,000 is not a bad long-term investment. It's not a bad long-term level to be investing in Bitcoin. So it's not great. Like I really enjoyed loading up below 85, but 90 isn't terrible. We're still down 28% from all-time high. So in my book, I try to buy Bitcoin now. I used to buy Bitcoin every day. I try to buy Bitcoin now at least 30% off of the all-time high, because that's where you actually get the gains in Bitcoin is you profit off of the volatility. Bitcoin very commonly drops more than 30%, even post ETF. I mean, over here, we dropped 31% at one point. If you had your buy order set 30% off of all-time high, you would have gotten filled. Same thing down here, down 35%. Right now, Bitcoin's down like 28%, which isn't bad. I mean, even getting anything under 25% off of all-time high is a pretty solid entry. But right now, really, I'm hoping that your positions are built. That's really my main goal for you, is I'm hoping your positions are built if they're not already. So again, anything below 100,000 is a good long-term entry if you're going to hold it for 5-10 years. Anything below 90 is definitely a good long-term entry. But what we really need to be watching out for right now is that Bitcoin is probably going to have this dramatic and violent movement, knocking out poorly placed short liquidations right back up towards that 50 moving average. And then we've got 100,000 as resistance. Honestly, I'm going to be real with you, and I know a lot of you guys get wrecked because you're mispositioned, but selfishly, I hope Bitcoin hits 100,000 and just absolutely crashes. I hope Bitcoin goes down to 75, 70, 65, 60, 50, 55. I would love to see that happen. I want to gobble up as much Bitcoin as I possibly can, and so I would be over the moon about that. Be over the moon if that happened. So I'm well positioned to take advantage of a bear market. If we go into a bull market, I've been acquiring Bitcoin for 8 years. Of course, I do well in that market as well. And that's the position that I want you guys to get in. So my main takeaway, my main golden nugget that I want you to walk away from this is, set yourself up with limit orders that are 25, 30% off of all-time high, and let yourself fill your bags at those levels. That's how the professionals do it. Again, I like the discipline of daily dollar cost averaging, but what ends up happening is you end up getting a much higher average cost basis when you do that. If you say, look, Bitcoin is a market that traditionally has this size of a pullback, it traditionally has a 30% pullback, it traditionally has a 25% pullback, and you set your limit orders, you just say, I'm going to put a limit order, you just come here, you say, let's say the all-time high for Bitcoin was $100,000. Multiply that by 0.25. I'm going to put a limit order at 25% off of all-time high. I'm going to put my limit order at 75K, right? And this is what successful investors do. This is what I'm really seeing a lot of people doing and have been doing for a very long time, is when the market goes through a correction, that's when you buy and you load up your bags in these zones, because even a buy right now at 90,000, it's not a bad entry. It's really not. Running back to all-time high, that's a 40% return. You turn $1,000 into $1,400. That's et cetera. And so that's et cetera. That's nice. That's a really good entry. So if you're trying to invest in Bitcoin, this is not a bad entry. It's just not as good as it was a week ago. And that's why you've got to pay attention to things like the long-term technicals, these RSI, the RSI movements that we're seeing. We knew that Bitcoin wasn't just going to keep diving. Anything down there below 85,000, Bitcoin was down here at like 26 on the RSI. It wasn't going to stay down there forever. Bitcoin is a long-term, permanent bull market. It's not going to stay in that zone. It's going to go through a rally. So that's where you load up your bags. You got to take advantage of those opportunities when they come up. So Bitcoin is in good shape right now to begin a rally back up towards $100,000. The question is going to be whether it can break through different levels of resistance. Even here off of the entire downtrend thus far, 0.236 is sitting here at just 91,000. Bitcoin's really got to show us that it's got some momentum, because we've seen bounces here on Bitcoin in the duration of this correction that have been $8,000 tall before, right? We're up $9,000. That's because we're very extended to the downside. We saw an $8,000 bounce. We saw over here a $13,000 bounce. So this is not something that's giving me a ton of confidence yet that Bitcoin's like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin's about to just explode. What it does give me confidence in is that Bitcoin is most likely going up towards 100,000. So if you want to get entries at 90, now's your time, because it's probably not going to last too much longer. Hey, if you're enjoying today's video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And also make sure to check out Stampseed. If you guys have not already, I really highly encourage you to check out Stampseed, because Stampseed is going to allow you to self-custody your Bitcoin in a way that is safe. So make sure to check them out with the link in the description box down below. You can stamp your seed phrases into straight up titanium, and this of course is going to keep you safe, because titanium is extremely strong, extremely heat resistant. So check the link in the description box down below and go sign up for Stampseed today. All right, let's read a little bit of chat, and then we will go ahead and keep it moving here. This is good advice about trading spot. Yep. Also, there's a big possibility that it hits 94 and hits the resistance. It retraces down to 86 for one or two more tests and then proceeds up again. Absolutely. That could very easily happen. One way we could pump above the 50 weekly moving average is if the Fed announces a 50 week, is if the Fed announces a 50 basis point rate cut in December instead of a 25 basis point rate cut. That's probably not going to happen. But what I will say is that we are most likely going to. What we are most likely going to see happen is that if the Fed does actually end up cutting rates, then that's when since there's all this uncertainty that Jerome Powell put into the market, it is possible that if we do end up seeing that 50 basis point rate, that 25 basis point rate cut, that could be the catalyst that we need to go higher. That is very possible, very possible. So something that we want to watch out for absolutely is the. All right, guys, also want to give a big shout out. If you have not already, you absolutely should go and sign up for iTrust Capital. And the reason that you should sign up for iTrust Capital is because iTrust Capital is going to allow you to buy and hold Bitcoin in a tax-advantaged retirement account. The reason that this is important is because one of the biggest money sinks that you're going to run into in your life is paying taxes. I cannot stand paying taxes. I hate paying taxes. So I do everything that I can to avoid paying taxes legally. And one of the best ways to do that is to work with retirement accounts. If you're not maxing out your retirement accounts, your retirement account and your spouse's retirement account every single year, you are leaving tax gains on the table. And iTrust Capital is a phenomenal place that you can get tax gains in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space by investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies through a tax-advantaged retirement account like a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA or even an SEP IRA if you own your own company. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for iTrust Capital by going to itrustcapital.com/go/crypto-jeb. You got to use our link, though, because when you do, you're going to get a special $100 funding bonus. When you sign up and fund your account, you're going to get $100 for free that you can invest straight into the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency markets. They have some of the lowest fees in the entire game. They basically are the lowest fees in the entire game. And you're also going to be getting very good customer service. You know, they've got customer service reps living in California. So if you need anything, they're going to give you a text. They're going to give you a call. They're going to be like, hey, I am the person who's over your account. If you need anything, here's my number. You can talk to me. I get texts about once a month from our guy over at iTrust Capital. And he's just like, hey, by the way, do you need anything? Is there anything I can do for you? Spoke to him on the phone. Very good guy. So it's very helpful to have somebody in the United States, easy to talk to, that can help you with everything if you need it. So make sure to sign up for iTrust Capital, itrustcapital.com/go/crypto-jeb. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. All right, let's read a little bit more chat here. If no rate cut, then it'll just be a dump. Absolutely, yes. If we don't get a rate cut, it'll probably be the thing that leads us into a bear market. Because here's the timing on it. We're going to see the decision on rates happen in about 14 days. Bitcoin has taken about 5 days to rally this far. For Bitcoin to rally back up to the all-time high, it is very possible that in 14 days, that's where we are. Like, that's 11th of December, I think. Is it the 11th of December? I want to say it's the 10th of December. 10th of December. On the 10th of December, it's very possible that that's where Bitcoin is. It's right here below the 100. And so we definitely need to see, whether or not Bitcoin is going to, we need to see what Jerome is going to do, whether that rate cut's going to happen or not. If that rate cut does happen, it gives us the possibility of a break to the upside. If that rate cut does not happen, it could be the very thing that causes us to reject off of the 50 and move into a bear market, which I've got my fingers crossed, man. I got my fingers crossed. No rate cut, Bitcoin crashes. I would love to buy more Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin. I'm a total nerd for buying Bitcoin. You guys know we are holding our Bitcoin for 15 years. We're going to hold it until 2040 minimum. And I'm very much just looking forward to watching that balance sheet grow. We've been doing Bitcoin Treasury since before it was a thing. Like, before everybody was talking about it, that's what we've been doing. We've been acquiring Bitcoin nonstop for years. I love buying cheap Bitcoin. One of my favorite things to do. So if you have not already, make sure to go ahead and just be responsible. Just be careful. Look, guys, something you need to understand. There's a quote that you see floating around a lot, and I really like it, is that the path to heaven feels like hell, and the path to hell feels like heaven. Right? You have to understand that it takes a certain level of crazy to say, I just made $10,000. I'm going to enjoy none of it. I remember several years ago, we were working on a financial goal. We had some consumer debt, and we were like, we want to be consumer debt free. I told my wife, I said, until it was about $45,000, it was a truck and a different stuff, right? I said, until we pay all of this off, we are going to put every single penny that is non-essential into this debt. We're not going to do anything. So we sold the truck, paid off the truck. We got an extra like $25,000, $30,000 out of it. We did not spend a penny of it. We did not buy a Little Caesars pizza. We did not spend a penny of that money that came in on anything for pleasure and enjoyment. We said all of it is going into getting us out of consumer debt, because bump that, right? We don't want consumer debt. That's not something that we want in our family. We're not going to do that. Until this is done, we are not enjoying a single French nickel of the money that's coming in. We're going to put all of it into this financial goal. And we're very glad we did. And we have a lot less stress because we don't have all these payments. So the only real debt that we have is our mortgage. And I'm not paying that thing off anytime soon. It's at 5 1/8. But M2 money growth 6%. I'm not paying that down. I paid like $50,000 into it to save like $70,000 or $80,000 in interest in the first couple of years alone. But I'm not doing anything extra. Our mortgage payment is $3,043 a month. We make like well north of 10 to 20x that every month. Why would I pay that off, right? So I'm not going to do that. We've got plenty of cash to do that. But we're like, we don't want consumer debt. We don't want consumer debt. We're paying off all of that. Not doing that. We're going to be caught up on our bills. That's the way we're going to do things. And we said, look, we are going to take some short-term pain right now so that we can be in a good financial position later. And so it is difficult to say, I'm going to buy sub $85,000. I'm going to buy sub $90,000 so that I can have a better future. But at the end of the day, you're going to be glad you did. Here's the way that we structure our finances. We have X amount of dollars coming in. Those X amount of dollars go into 3 different places. First of all, 10% goes to the local church because we tithe. After that, 45%, which is 50% of what remains, goes to, well, actually, hang on, before this, set aside for taxes, right? After that, 10% goes to the local church. After that, 45% is invested, 45% is lived on. This is what I aim for. Now, some months it's going to be higher on investment. Maybe we'll invest 60, 70% of our income. Sometimes we are higher on, we have less income for a certain month, and then we're maybe living on 60 to 70% of it. We're investing 20 to 25% of it. But this is our goal. We don't hit this every month. In fact, most months we're off somewhere on this. But this is basically what we try to do. And the reason that I do this is because I want to set up financial sovereignty for our family. Something that you will understand as you grow and you get older and you start to realize your status in life as a man is very seriously tied to how much money you have. And I hate to say that because that's not the way it's supposed to be. In the church, it's not supposed to be like that. If you read the book of Titus, not the book of Titus, if you read just about any book in the New Testament, you're going to see that that is not the way that the church is supposed to operate. But that is generally speaking how the world operates. When you're dealing with the world, it is important for you to have financial assets to make sure that you are safe. It is your job as a man. 93% of our audience are males, so I'm going to speak to the 93% of our audience right now. As a man, it is your job to lead, protect, and provide for your family. And part of the way that you protect your family in the modern world is financially. So you need to live on less than you make. You need to invest some. And if you don't have money to invest, you've got a problem with spending, you've got a problem with earning, or you've got a problem with management, but you've got a problem and you need to fix it. So if you're like, Jeb, I don't have any money to buy this dip, fix it. Go do something. Go, as Dave Ramsey says, go kill something, drag it back into the cave and cook it up and eat it, right? You need to go make some money. Go make some freaking money. Go do something to make money so you have money to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. These are excellent entries, and I'm very excited to be taking them. I love investing $10,000, $20,000 into Bitcoin when it dips like this. I love it because I am building financial sovereignty for my future. And the longer that I do this, the more successful we will get. We will grow faster than most other people because we're like, we could be doing all this stuff and we're not. Do you have any idea how easy it would be for me to go buy a Lamborghini? Like I could go, let's say I bought a Lamborghini on a 36-month car note or 72-month car note like a lot of these people do. Let's say I did that. And I'm going to pay $1 million for a freaking car when you factor in all the interest. $5,000 a month. Easy. I could do that and I wouldn't even sweat. Am I doing that? Hell no, because I'm going to put money into Bitcoin instead. Will I ever buy a fancy car? Maybe, but our personal rule is less than 3% of our net worth is allowed to be on wheels and motors. That's our personal rule, less than 3%. You know what I drive? I could drive a Ferrari. You know what I drive? I drive a 2019 Toyota Sienna XLE. That's what I drive. That is the one vehicle we own, and I have a 2018 CBR 300R. That motorcycle is worth like $4,000. I have like $22,000 worth of vehicles. I do not care about driving my net worth. You know what I put my net worth into? Bitcoin and stocks, and the vast majority of it is into Bitcoin. I put the vast majority of it into Bitcoin. I've invested more money in Bitcoin in the last month than we have on wheels and motors. In the last week than we have on wheels and motors because we do this. If you want to be successful, 15% every month ought to be minimum. Make it 25, make it 30%. You guys talk about how I'm the crypto Dave Ramsey. I've been called that a bunch of times. Dave Ramsey says 15%. I say 15%, but I don't say 15%. I say 15% minimum. Minimum 15%. If you can invest 20, 25, 30, 35, 40% of your income and still actually live and have a decent life, do it. I'm not saying you have to live on rice and beans and rice. You got to reward yourself eventually. You know how I reward myself? Here's how I reward myself. I buy fancy coffees. Like, that's literally all I spend money on for myself. And sometimes I'll eat out. Like, that's all I spend money on for myself. That's the only way I treat myself. I don't have a gambling addiction. I don't gamble. I don't buy a bunch of video games. I'm not doing all of that. The way that I treat myself is I'll spend $5 or $10 a day on coffee. That's how I treat myself. Is I'll spend $5 or $10 a day on, you know, nice coffee, or maybe I'll get a nice chicken tender sandwich. There are people standing next to me in line making 40 grand a year, and that's what they're spending their money on. You need to make more money, and you need to invest it. You have a job to do, fellow man. Protect your family. Okay, cool. All right. Let's read a little bit of chat here, and then I'm going to have to wrap it out pretty soon. I have gone overtime, so I got to wrap it out, let's say, in the next 5 minutes. Hey, before we do anything else, I do want to let you guys know this week is the last week of the Black Friday sale from NordVPN. If you have not already, make sure to sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below. The reason you should do that is because, as I said, it is your job to keep your family safe, protected, and provided for. And if you have left yourself exposed to get attacked by hackers and thieves where they can come and steal all of your wealth, you've got a problem and you need to do something about it. NordVPN is going to help keep you safe and secure while you browse online. So make sure, if you have not already, sign up for NordVPN by going to nordvpn.com/Jeb. I highly recommend the 2-year plan here on the Plus subscription. This is going to be $105 for 28 months of NordVPN access. That is 74% off. Not only are you going to get access to the most secure, fastest virtual private network in the entire world, you're also going to get the anti-malware and browsing protection. You're going to get the ad and tracker blocker, which is phenomenal because these ads are tracking you, right? They're giving your information. They're selling it to data brokers. They're selling it to thieves. Literally, companies that get your information, they sell it to the highest bidder, whether they're criminal or not, because that's how they're making money. They're selling your profile. They're selling who you are, where you've been, what you're doing, all of this information. They're selling it and profiting off of your private information, and you need to put a stop to it. You've also got the password manager and breach scanner here. They will be able to tell. It'll be able to help you understand if there's been a breach anywhere in your security. They'll be able to, you can manage all of your passwords in one area. I love NordPass. That's what it's called. NordVPN, the subproduct is NordPass. NordPass, a phenomenal password manager. So if you have not already, make sure to go ahead and sign up for NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/Jeb. This is the most obvious $105 you will ever spend. That is worth every single penny. You should not fret about that. There's a reason you're making money. It's so you can do stuff to keep yourself safe, keep yourself secure, protect for your family. NordVPN is going to help you stay safe. What is $105 to protect your $1,000 worth of crypto? What is $105 to protect $10,000 worth of crypto? For those of you guys that have got $100,000 plus, this is a no-brainer. This is a one-stop shop. Keep yourself safe. It's just absolutely stupid not to sign up for NordVPN. nordvpn.com/Jeb with the link in the description box down below. That is a phenomenal deal. Do not skip out on this. This will not be here for long. This is normally $420 for the 28 months, $105 right now. All right. One Wibble 230 said there's definitely some backstory to his raging right now. Wonder what happened to him. I'll tell you what happened to me. I grew up broke as a joke. I grew up in a single parent household, broke. You know why? Because I was in a single parent household. My dad drove me back and forth to school. I went to an academy school. I didn't go to my zone school, so the buses didn't run. And here's what happened. My dad drove me to school 30 minutes one way, morning and afternoon. I don't know if you've noticed, but school doesn't last 40 hours. So that completely blew up his ability to do work. So he wasn't able to work as many hours as he wanted to, right? So he sacrificed for me. He sacrificed a lot for me. He would have been able to go out one day. He asked me, he's like, Jeb, what do you think about moving out to Texas? Because I can go do some stuff on the oil rigs. I can be a roughneck. Dude probably would have made $150,000, $200,000 a year out there. And I was just like, I don't know. I really like my friend. He stayed in a very difficult position to sacrifice for me. My father broke his back for me. And I didn't grow up with a lot of money because of that, because he wanted me to be able to go to the school that I wanted to go to be around my friends. He sacrificed years and years and years of his life and his well-being, and he stressed himself out for me. And I started to realize when I was around 17 or 18, I'm like, man, I want to do something to pay him back. He's done so much for me. We don't have much, right? And so I said to myself, I am not going to stop until I get myself to a place where I'm financially sovereign and I can do whatever he ever needs, right? My dad's He's just, I'm very thankful for him. And I just said to myself, I want to take care of my dad as he gets older, right? Because one day he's going to be older and not be able to, I mean, everybody gets to be 70 or 80 one day. And I also want to be able to take care of my wife and kids who I have not met yet. I'm talking about being 17, 18, right? I want to be able to provide for them. I want to be able to do what he did for me, and I want to be able to make sure that they have a really great quality of life while doing that. And I'm living that dream now because I chose to be financially sovereign. I put the work in, and I said, I am going to make this happen for my family, and that's what you need to do. You need to put yourself in a position where you can take care of the people that are entrusted to you. The Bible says that a man who does not work should not eat. The Bible also says that a man who does not provide for his own relatives, even though especially the members of his own household, is worse than an unbeliever and has denied the faith. If you are a man, which 93% of the people watching our audience are, it is your job to protect and provide for your family. You need to do something about that if you are not. Okay? You know why? Because you are being judged by a holy God as to whether or not you are doing your job. And also, less important than that, but still important, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be anxious. You're going to feel like a pile of bricks. You're going to feel awful if you're not doing your job because you are living under this burden of conviction, and you're going to say, you know what I need? I need more drugs. I need more porn. I need more this. I need more gambling. You don't need that. You need to get off your butt and you need to go do something in the world. You need to provide value. You need to take care of somebody. You need to be a man. And so for all of you guys who are watching this and know what I'm talking about, you're like, yeah, Jeb, let's hear it. But there are some of you guys who are a little bit younger than me, maybe a little older than me, whatever. And you're saying, man, I've got this thing in me. I just don't feel good. Maybe I need antidepressants. Maybe I need a mental health break. About 4 or 5 years ago, I said, you know what? I need a mental health break. You know what I did? I went up to Tennessee and I sat in a hotel room and I played video games for 7 days straight. I felt like I had just swam in filth. It was disgusting. It was hedonistic and disgusting. You need to go put some food on the table for your family. You need to protect them. You need to figure out who's under your care, and you need to do a dang good job of taking care of them. That's how you're going to feel better. All right. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you have not already, make sure to sign up for I Trust Capital. Most importantly, guys, get access to that NordVPN deal. I cannot stress this enough. This is a very important deal. Sign up for NordVPN with the link in the description box down below. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. I'm going to go help the family get ready for Thanksgiving tomorrow. There will be no content tomorrow, but there will be content on Friday, so stay tuned for Black Friday because we'll be streaming then. Hey, I really appreciate all of you being here. Rednax donated $5 CAD. And said, Crypto Jeb, the hero we don't deserve, but the hero we need, the light in the darkness when Bitcoin was dumping. Well, Jesus Christ is the light in the darkness that you need, but I appreciate being able to help you guys. If you have not already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter at CryptoJeb. Really appreciate all of you guys being here. And before we go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.